Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside 1793 Patriots and Traitors, the French Revolution, Year 2. This is a game designed by Jason St. Just, and it is published by Sound of Drums. A while back, while talking to Uwe Valentin from Sound of Drums, when we were discussing Eylau 1807, we were also talking about 1793. We've already taken a look at Eylau on the channel. Now we're taking a look at 1793. It's coming to the end of its project over on GameFound and wanted to get a quick look out for you guys so that way you can see what it is that you have to look forward to with this game. Not only do you get the game, which is about the French Revolution, a topic that a lot of people may be fascinated with and know a lot about, but a lot of other people may not know a lot of things about it. I'm one of them. Well, the best part about it is Uwe felt the same way, and he had asked the designer, Jason, if he could teach people more about the French Revolution, and he wrote a book for it. That book is right here, and that comes with this project here, and it is a fantastic book. The quality of the book is outstanding, as you can see. Nice thick hardcover, and it looks like something you can get at Barnes & Noble or buy on Amazon. Beautifully done, and it's over 200 pages, so it gives you a great background on the French Revolution, which I think is outstanding for people like me and many of you watching that know very little about the French Revolution and the complications in it, because there were multiple factions. And if you look at the American War for Independence, it was pretty straightforward. Not so much with the French Revolution. So that is what we're going to talk about when we see the back of the box here. But this game, as I said, is ending on GameFound this week. So if this video gets you interested, head on over there and get your pledge in. So let's take a look at the back of the box and see what this game's all about. 1793 Patriots and Traitors is an asymmetrical card-driven board game that allows the players to relive the most critical and most violent years of the French Revolution. As one of the 5 factions, Royalists, Feuillants, Girondins, Jackins, or Cordeliers, you will attempt to control the revolutionary tempest or be swept away by it. Use your influence to gain control over the different areas of Paris in order to reap the advantages each of them provide. Gain the support of the famous revolutionary leaders to profit from the benefits they can offer. Bolster your political power in the National Convention to pass new laws allowing you to change the game rules and even modify the board. Although engaged in a brutal political tug-of-war amongst yourselves, you will have to work together to prevent the coalition armies from reaching Paris, thereby crushing the revolution and ending the game prematurely. Work together to save the revolution, but work alone to push forward the ideals your faction has in store for the future of France. Inside we get a Paris game board, a France game board, 5 faction sheets, 10 location tiles, 150 cubes, 95 tarot-sized cards, 47 custom wooden pieces, a multiplayer rules manual, a solo and 2-player rules manual, 5 player aid sheets, and 5 cotton bags. It is for 1 to 5 players, ages 14 and up. Playtime is between 30 and 120 minutes. And you can see an example of the cards, the boards, and pieces here on the left, as well as on the right-hand side. So let's take a look inside and see what we get. Right. And we have our multiplayer rulebook, 1 to 2 player rulebook, some player aids here. This looks like the Paris board, and nice recessed spaces where you can place pieces inside. And these look like the pieces themselves that'll be used. Yep. The France board. Then we have our 2 decks of tarot-sized cards, all the nice wooden bits, the 5 bags for the different factions, and then looks like the faction mats itself. So let's set up the maps and take a closer look at the game. Next, we'll take a look at the maps that come with the game. The first one up is the France map. And this is where you're going to be placing your influence cubes in the 15 different provinces to gain control. On the outside, you also see the coalition start positions. This is where each of the different coalitions is going to start. And then when there is a to Paris card played, they will advance along specific tracks on their way towards Paris. And at the start of the game, there is no general that is activated. So that's one of the first things you need to do, is to activate a general, so that way the Paris province, which is located right here, is not as vulnerable as it is at the very start of the game. In some of these provinces, you see the Sacred Heart symbol, and it has a value from 1 through 6. What happens there is when certain law cards are passed, those provinces will rise up in revolt, and that will gain you a Royalist influence cube and immediately deactivates the revolutionary generals in those provinces. And the next map is the Paris map, and this is where you're going to have all of the different locations that you'll be battling over to gain influence laid out on the map ahead of time. A couple of these are not revealed to begin with, and as the game goes on, they will be revealed and they will flip over. And then there is one here, Notre Dame, that will be also changed in the course of the game, or may change during the course of the game. As you can see, there are little holes here for your placing your influence cubes, and at the top we've got an area for the laws that are passed. Remember, the laws that are passed can change things up on the game board, like we were talking about when you reveal different areas, or you change this one over here, as well as the different areas of control itself. Those can all be influenced by the laws that you change. And at the bottom here, we have all these location spots to keep track of the current round. Next, we'll take a look at the player aids that come with the game. This first one is the Paris board player aid. This gives you a breakdown of all the different locations on the Paris board on the front. And that carries over to the back, giving you the remainder of the spots on the Paris board. Then the next is for the leader cards player aid, which is going to give you a breakdown of all the different leaders in the game, their benefits, and how they can be activated. This is a fold out, and when we open it up inside, you'll see the next page, third page, and then it flips over onto the last page. Then the next one is for the action cards. This is going to give you a breakdown of all of the action cards used in the game, and it's a big fold out just like the last one. A couple extra pages where you're going to get a breakdown of all the cards, their effects, how they can be used, and how they're actually brought into play. And we have that on the inside as well, so you can get a quick glance as to how many of these are explained on this fold out. Really useful, really easy to look up when you can just fold it out and look at it real quickly. And lastly, we have the law cards player aid, which is going to be laid out the same as the others. It's just a quick fold out. That's going to give you a breakdown of all of the cards in the game with an easy reference for use during play. Next, we'll take a look at the player mats that come with the game. There are 5 of them. First up are the Cordeliers. They are the ultra radicals. Below that is a blurb that gives you a little background on their mindset. Be forever vigilant, for it is stupidity to believe that men who for 1,000 years have had the power to oppress us with impunity will now agree, with good grace, to be our equals. Underneath that, we have the objective, and on the left-hand side, the steps for organizing a coup d'etat, as well as steps for organizing a civil war. Along the bottom, you have a space for storing your cubes and any other pieces that you may be using during the game. Next up, we have the Feuillants. They are conservatives. Let us finish the revolution, for if we take one more step, it will not be without danger. If it is in the direction of liberty, then this will lead to the destruction of royalty. If it is in the direction of equality, then this will lead to the violation of property. Next up are the Girondins. They are moderates. Our enemies are those who want to level everything: property, comforts, the price of commodities, who want the workmen in the camp to receive the salary of the legislator, who want to level even talents and knowledge, because they themselves have none of these things. Then we have the Jacobins. They are radicals. We must smother the internal and the external enemies of the Republic or perish with it. Now in this situation, the first maxim of our policy ought to be to lead the people by reason and the people's enemies by terror. And lastly, we have the Royalists. They are the ultra-conservatives. My country is about to be reduced to rubble by an ignorant mob of new ideas armed with pitchforks, intent on murder and destruction. Next, we'll take a look at a few examples of the cards that come with the game, and there are 3 different types of cards. Each are distinguished by the trim on the sides of the card. These are action cards, these are leader cards, and these are law cards. As we see with most CDGs, you have a lot of symbols on these cards as well as text, and that will tell you how they're used in different ways. The top right here, you see these cockades, and the same here for this leader, that leader, and then the one over here, to Paris card. That is the number of influence you can place into a location if you use that card. Below that, we have the text of what you can do with the card. For example, the Uprising card. Take away the influence of a rival or royalist from a province and switch it with one influence from your own pile. At the bottom, we have the area and faction symbols. Next to that, we have the To Paris card. And this is where you're going to influence the France map, which is underneath these cards right now. Remember, I said they're going to be moving in towards the Paris province. Well, this is going to trigger that. And this symbol here is the immediate play symbol. So that way you know that the card, when drawn, has to be played immediately, which is going to advance those units towards Paris. Next to that, we have the leader card. We have one at the top and one at the bottom left here. We'll see which faction they belong to, and then it's going to give you text as to what they can do, what their benefits are. Like this one here, Antoine Barnave allows you to add an influence from your pile to the Prison du Temple area each turn. This one here, Pierre Verginaud, is able to swap any two influence already on the Paris board. At the bottom here, we have the two law cards. You don't see any extra items on there because these are going to be used at the top of the Paris board that we saw earlier. You're going to be placing those in there. They're going to be voted on, and they can have different effects on the game. Censorship. Printing press action cards are temporarily eliminated. Neutralizes the faubourgs during a coup d'etat. No loss of influence in the Convention Nationale or faubourg when a revolutionary general is defeated due to a drawn to Paris or played military offensive card. Universal suffrage. All players can now vote on proposed law cards. The number of votes is determined by the number of influence in the Convention Nationale. Areas on the Paris board that are full can now be continuously modified until all areas are full. So you can see the effects on just these two law cards. Like I said, 3 different decks of cards in this game, and you will hold up to 6 cards in your hand. So hand management is also another aspect of this game. Next, we'll take a look at the faction bags and some of the wood bits that come with the game. With these faction bags, you'll be taking your wood cubes, putting them in here, take 13 of them out, use those at the beginning of the game. The rest are going to be considered your stock and will sit in your bag. Then we have all of these really cool wood cubes here. We've got these flags here. These are going to be used for the different nations that are going to be moving around the France map. As you get those to Paris cards, you're going to be advancing those along the tracks there. We've got these really cool gold coins for your gold. These are the wood bits for the Assignon. Got a balloon token. A fleet token. The round marker. The printing press. Street thugs. The King Louis marker. And then, of course, the infamous guillotine. So some really outstanding wood bits here with this game. Next, we'll take a look at the rules. This is a 31-page full-color book. This is the first one for multiplayer, but this is the base of understanding to get you into the solo and 2-player game. Inside of the front cover, we have a little blurb introing the game. Then we have the table of contents listing out all the different sections and associated page numbers. Get to the objective of the game, general sequence of play, rulebook organization, breakdown of all of the pieces that you'll be using in the game and how they're going to be placed on the map. Great. In form of breakdown there. Then we get to turn order on page 6. The game round, playing a card, activating a revolutionary leader, drawing a card, exchanging a card, and then there's a little bit of a history pop out at the bottom. And we have a breakdown of the Paris map, areas of political importance, discarded influence areas, law card tracks, traitors, conspiracies, and mass paranoia. Then we have the province areas, advance of the coalition armies, influence cubes, how you're going to be placing those and how those will affect each other. The cards, symbols on the cards, which we already talked about. law cards, revolutionary leader cards, action cards, and the generals. Currency and how that's going to be used in the game. Assignon, press, street thugs, gold coins. War. Facing the coalition armies in a province. Military offensive in a province. Going to give you the procedure, the victory conditions, nice illustrated examples sprinkled throughout. Military actions beyond the French borders, which is into your territories. Generals in the provinces, revolutionary generals versus the Royalist generals. Ending the game, coup d'etat and civil war. And then we have an example round on page 24 here, which is going to give you a nice illustrated example of everything that happens throughout the round. So you can read through the rules, you can read through this, or even set up the game and play along with it so you get a good feel for the mechanical movements as well as understanding the mechanics of the game. And then it all kind of just comes together. Then we have the glossary on page 28, which is going to go on for a few pages. Credits at the last page. And then on the back of the multiplayer rulebook, we have the sequence of play. Next, we have the 1 to 2 player rulebook, which is going to help you play when you're playing solitaire or just with 2 players, as opposed to a full game of 5. The inside of the front cover, we have the table of contents listing out all different sections and their associated page numbers, an introduction, objective of the game, and how they differ for 1 and 2 players versus the 5 player. Differences are listed out on the next page as well. The non-active factions will not function as dummy players, but more as AI, functioning as challenging external events which the active player or players, 2 players, will have to deal with. However, the non-active factions will also join the active player if the active player manages to influence them. So that's pretty interesting there. In a 2-player game, your rival will of course attempt to ensure that this does not happen. And then a listing of what is the main differences between the multiplayer and the 1 or 2 player game. Of course, the setup. In the 1 and 2 player rules, there is an initial setup giving the Fillon faction a slight edge at the beginning. The second difference is the symbols on the bottom of the cards are used as the AI actions, and the third is the faction sheets now also function as areas that can be influenced. Then we have the rulebook organization, the setup. Gameplay starts on page 4, breakdown of the area symbols and how they'll be used in this mode of the game. Influencing non-active factions. Law cards and non-playing factions vote. Alliances. And then a glossary here on page 10. And credits on page 11. And on the back of the 1 to 2 player rulebook, we have the game round sequence. And that is a look at everything you get inside of 1793 Patriots and Traitors, the French Revolution, Year 2. This is a game designed by Jason St. Just, and it is published by Sound of Drums. Well, another outstanding game from Sound of Drums. Alau 1807 was their first one. It was just beautifully done. 1793 is their second, and again, beautifully done. Between Sound of Drums and VUCA, these European publishers have raised the bar very high. And they're taking a lead in bringing war games and historical strategy games into the future with their production qualities, and it's fantastic that they're doing that. And congrats to Uwe and to Jason on the successful Game Found, which is still active until the end of the month. So if this game interests you after watching this video, definitely go to the Game Found page and back it, because there are still a few days left here. It's almost the end of the month. And again, if you don't know anything about the French Revolution, don't worry. It comes with the book that's going to give you a basic understanding of it. Now, obviously, it's a very deep subject with a lot of angles and a lot of aspects that can't be covered in one book, but you get this beautifully done 200-page book, 200-plus page book, which is going to give you a base understanding of the historical aspects, so that way when you're playing the game, you can appreciate the whole thing more. And one of the things I didn't mention, didn't show you, I should say, when we were talking about the wood bits, I forgot, were the Revolutionary and Royalist general pieces here. And I just wanted to bring those up because that's one of the things I did forget to show you because these wood bits are so awesome. I did overlook those, but overall, fantastic looking game. The rules look pretty straightforward to understand, and there are so many different player aids and things to explain every aspect of the game very clearly to you, which is outstanding. And I'm looking forward to checking this one out. Again, it plays from 1 to 5 players. There is the base rule book here for the multiplayer rules, and then you have the 1 to 2 player rules that'll explain to you what the differences are between the full 5-player faction game and the 1 to 2 player game. This is not a game that you can easily play multi-handed. Obviously, you can play it multi-handed when you're playing it solo to learn, but you can't actually play multiplayer by yourself because there's hidden information with the cards and things like that. So unless you're just wanting to learn the game and learning the mechanics of it so you can teach others, this is not something you're going to want to play multiplayer solo, but you can play solo with these solo rules. So that is fantastic. You have both options, multiplayer or solitaire, 1 to 5 players. Well, I've got the GameFound link down below, so if you are interested in this game, go check it out and back it today. Well, I hope that helps you guys out if you've been curious about this one. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.